On the Hawkeye Sports Network from Learfield, this is the Fight for Iowa podcast, brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy, proud partner of the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Big Ten Conference. Also by Iowa's Corn Farmers of the Iowa Corn Growers Association and Iowa Corn Promotion Board. You may think Iowa grows corn, but the truth is, corn grows Iowa. Also brought to you by Shields. We're right there with you in Des Moines, Sioux City, Iowa City, and Cedar Falls. This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Two of Iowa football's greatest are on this year's College Hall of Fame ballot. Offensive tackle Robert Gallery and tight end Dallas Clark are among 80 players and 9 coaches nominated by the National Football Foundation. Voting concludes the end of June, and we'll know who's in this year's class around the end of December. Both Gallery and Clark were consensus All-Americans from small-town Iowa. Both were highly coveted first-round NFL draft picks. Gallery number 2 overall by the Oakland Raiders. Clark was chosen with the 24th selection by the Indianapolis Colts. Born in Sioux Falls and growing up in Livermore in northern Iowa, population 380, Dallas Clark would wear his incredible Hulk pajamas most of the day if allowed. Folks in Humboldt County had no idea then that Clark would grow into the NFL's version of the short-tempered Dr. Bruce Banner. Clark played a mad blocker and pass catcher at Iowa for a couple years, and then for 11 seasons as quarterback Peyton Manning's main target, winning a Super Bowl along the way. While Dallas Clark loved Marvel Comics superheroes, he settled for a Rudy Ruettiger role. Rudy was turned down 3 times by Notre Dame before he was allowed to walk on. Dallas Clark arrived in Iowa City in 1999, wide-eyed and without a scholarship offer, but determined to work his way into a Hawkeye uniform. The rest is material that books and movies are made of. Dallas Clark joins us on this week's Fight for Iowa podcast in just a minute. The show is sponsored by Athletico, Iowa Corn, and Shields.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
Oh, you know that old injury of yours? The one in your knee or maybe back? Instead of going to the doctor and then doing physical therapy, why not start with therapy first? Athletico Physical Therapy is changing the whole healing process around. Their physical therapists will find the source of your pain and help fix it. Start with them and start living pain-free. Just like that.
It all starts with Athletico Physical Therapy. Schedule your free assessment at athletico.com. No prescription needed. Proud partner of the Iowa Hawkeyes.
This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Hawkeye great Dallas Clark played just 2 full seasons at Iowa, and yet the Big Ten's tight end of the year trophy bears his name. He made the most of his time before declaring for the NFL with 81 catches, 1,281 yards, and 8 touchdowns. One of those covered 95 yards against Purdue, the longest in Kinnick Stadium history. He had an incredible 16-yard completion average. In 11 pro seasons, Clark caught 505 passes, 5,600 total yards, and 53 touchdowns, again averaging a first down per catch. And yet Dallas Clark walked on at Iowa as a quarterback and or linebacker and cut his teeth on special teams while looking for a permanent position in hopes of gaining a full-ride education. Clark had no inclination what lied ahead.
I told Coach Ferentz when he told me the news about making the Iowa Hall of Fame, I said, not bad for a guy who just wanted to make special teams. Like, that is honestly, like, that was my Uncle Buck 5-year plan. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to bust my tail and maybe my 5th year, maybe get like a medical, which, maybe, try to, get as many years as possible. And maybe make special teams. Like that was ultimately, I mean, no joke, the goal. And then as a linebacker, just, coach was probably just shaking his head. He's like, gosh, he's kind of athletic, but man, he just stinks as a linebacker. He just is a dollar late, day short. I mean, or a day late, dollar short, whatever. But anyway, he wasn't there. And so, it took him a while to make that move. And it literally changed my life. I mean, I would never have had the career. I think I would have figured out linebacker, but certainly would not have done. I mean, it was like when I made that switch, it was like, putting on that comfortable pair of pants. Like, it was just like, man, this is fun. This is where I'm supposed to be.
You had played some quarterback like Chad Greenway and obviously tried linebacker, and Norm Parker told me, said, son, we're going to have to find you another position because you ain't playing linebacker. How did tight end evolve in your resume? What coach, who figured it out with you?
Well, you got to go to the beginning. I mean, Kyle McCann, obviously. I mean, that summer after I scored, dude. I scored a touchdown in the spring game. It was a dreary kind of grayish, cold spring day, and I remember a little seam route, caught a touchdown on that spring game, and all of a sudden, like that, got wrecked. Everyone's like, "Ooh, who's this tight end?" Like yada yada, and all of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap, that got people's attention. All of a sudden, and then that summer, after workouts, before workouts, whenever like Kyle and I could find time, we were out behind the bubble, out running routes. I mean, it was 90 degrees, sweating. That's where I got the sweatbands. I mean, everyone's like, oh, people wear swag to wear swag. No, I sweat like a fiend, Gary. And so I put the sweatbands on and took the gloves off, because you wear gloves when you're a linebacker. You wear no gloves to catch the ball. And so that summer was just it was awesome. I mean, it was just Kyle explaining, the offense, the routes, and what, where it all began. And then it just kind of evolved. And then obviously Coach O'Keefe did a phenomenal job of trying to get me the ball with all the other awesome receivers, and Mo Brown and Ed Hinkle and all the great guys. I mean, heck, even Khalil Hill and Cass. I mean, those guys. When I was just like in the huddle, like, hey guys, can I play? And so I mean, it was a lot of fun. And then obviously, couldn't have asked for a better NFL team to play with, and then and that just really took it off with Peyton. But it's kind of funny how like it was the quarterback. It was my relationship with Kyle McCann, Brad Banks, Peyton Manning. I mean, it was when they say, oh, the tight ends are a security blanket, like the good ones, the guy, you think of Gronk and Brady, like, I mean, they're friends, it's not, and I think it has to play a part in it, and just being on the same page. And that's kind of where I always wanted to be, and earn that trust, and know where they wanted me. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be there. It's like, hey, where do you need me? Where would you like me? And Peyton was, 2 yards inside the numbers, yada, yada, 2 yards outside the hat, we had all these spots that we had to be, right? Because that dude threw more they think Mahomes threw no-look passes. Peyton was just throw balls because you're there, right? And timing. So it was just fun to like kind of grow with these guys, and the more trust you got, and certainly the same thing with Coach O'Keefe, where you could just kind of sense that, like, oh, you don't think of this as a player, but it's like, wow, they're trying to give me the ball. That's kind of cool. It's like, okay, the team is, they're depending on me. So then you just kind of have that internal like drive and motivation to not let your teammates down. And so it's a great thing.
Well, you ended up with the right team after winning the John Mackey Award.
Right.
At least, later in your career at Iowa.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
There's a sense of pride that comes from the life of a farmer. How many people can say they have a famous tan named after them, or be known for their wave when they drive past neighbors and strangers alike on a 2-lane road? Whether it's a farmer's tan or the farmer's wave, we are proud to be known for a lot of things. We feel that pride every night at the dinner table, knowing we feed our family and yours. Iowa Corn is proud to be on the sidelines cheering on the Iowa Hawkeyes. In Iowa, we grow corn, but the truth is, corn grows Iowa.
This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
There's another young guy on the Hall of Fame ballot with you, your line mate, Robert Gallery. You and he, kind of like Reggie Roby, you and he came in on the ground floor of the Kirk Ferentz or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Kirk Ferentz era. What a thrill it had to be playing not only along or being in the huddle with Gallery, but just getting to know him, who grew up in Winthrop, East Buchanan, a town very similar to Bode.
Yeah. I mean, and
Twin Rivers, excuse me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's where our high school is. Yeah. Bode. And that's where, and obviously he did the change too. Right? He was a tight end. And they're like, good Lord, you're a monster. like, let's put some potatoes on you and put your hand, let's put you on the tag. And his life changed. Right. And I mean, the best thing I love about Gallery is that, after we won we went to the Orange Bowl, had that, won the Big Ten, all that, I remember a couple conversations. One specifically, we're at the athletic club and we kind of like, hey, are you leaving? Are you leaving? It's kind of one of those things. And you could tell, like, looking back at that conversation, I was out and you could tell he was like, I got more business to take care of. And what was great about it is, both of us, worked out for both of us. Like, he
Sure.
didn't get hurt. He ended up second pick of the draft, won every award possible. And, so, I mean, just, and a credit to his commitment. And I think it just speaks volumes, kind of who he is and what kind of leader he was. I mean, he's an unbelievable dude. But just kind of a guy that, I mean, when you're in the weight room with Gallery, when you're on the field with Gallery, that guy, he just got, you had to be at your A game because he was always going to bring it. I mean, there was never a moment in the rack or a one-on-ones that he wasn't bringing it. And we had so many guys like that. I mean, no shocker why we weren't pretty good. I mean, we had guys that just took a lot of pride in their position and just, we had great leaders and we had great followers.
And you had a great head coach. What did your Iowa experience, Dallas, teach you not only about football, but about life when you've got such a class act like Kirk Ferentz at the helm?
Well, yeah. I mean, going back and surprising Coach and Mary at their awesome women's clinic was a treat. And what I explained to the group and what I kind of think about, as those years I was there, like I will never be able to truly put into words like what he means to me. Because what he's done for me and both as a football player and just as a man and just what he's done for so many guys that have gone through his program. And just, you look back and I mean, talk about like zero clue, like this was going to happen. Right. I mean, it was never like, hey, I'm going to make it to the league. I'm, like, hey, coach, what can you do for me? It seems like that's what a lot of these recruits are coming in. Like, hey, how are you getting me to fast track to the NFL? Right. That's, it's just kind of a little touch and go. And that's all they're focused on. Me, my NFL was the University of Iowa City. Like, I just wanted that Letterman's jacket. 5th year, if I could get that Letterman jacket, I could roll around in my, maybe scooter if I could afford it. I can't thank the teammates and friends that you make and the bonds and the memories to push you to learn, to grow from, to maybe even, kind of push them as well. And
Clark adds, it was so rewarding to work with gifted coaches and play in Kinnick Stadium for the vocal yet respectful Iowa fans. The feeling is mutual, Dallas. I'll wrap up this week's Fight for Iowa after this pause.
More of the Fight for Iowa podcast after this.
Here we go. Exciting adventures await. Grab your bucket list and keep the fun going all summer long. Pitch a tent, grab a sleeping bag, and sleep as a family under the stars. Fire up the grill and host a backyard barbecue. Visit a local trail for a hike or a drive to a state park for an all-day family adventure. With all there is to do this summer, we encourage you to get outside and make new memories. Whatever you do this summer, Shields is right there with you.
This is the Fight for Iowa podcast. Here's the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin.
Iowa baseball, although very disappointed it did not receive a bid to the NCAA tourney, concluded a wonderful season under head coach Rick Hiller with 36 wins and tied for second place in the Big Ten before winning 3 games in the conference tournament in Omaha. Hawkeye ace pitcher Adam Major was named All-American for his 5-1 Big Ten record and limiting opposing bats with a 2.59 earned run average. This week, slugging outfielder Keaton Anthony and pitcher Brody Breck were named to the freshman All-American team, courtesy of Collegiate Baseball newspaper. Anthony, an outfielder from Georgia, hit .361 with 14 home runs and 56 RBIs. Right-handed pitcher Breck, who you'll see on the football field this fall, allowed 1 run over 10 relief appearances, giving up 8 earned runs on 13 hits total in 22 2/3 innings. He had 44 strikeouts. Also this week, Major, Peyton Williams, Ben Butel, and Keaton Anthony earned American Baseball Coaches Association Rawlings All-Midwest Region honors. That was announced by that organization. Welcome back, Matt Gatens. Head basketball coach Fran McCaffrey has hired Gatens as an assistant coach, replacing the recently retired Kirk Ferentz. Gatens was a 4-year starter for the Hawks. The Iowa City native was a 2-time All-Big Ten selection, played in 128 career games, averaging 13 points and nearly 4 rebounds. Gatens has spent the last 4 years as an assistant coach at Drake. The Bulldogs have put together 4 consecutive 21 seasons that included the 2019 Missouri Valley Conference Championship and NCAA tournament bid in 2021. We'll hear from Matt Gatens in the immediate future here on Fight for Iowa. For this week, thanks for listening. I'm Gary Dolphin. Go Hawks.
Hawkeye fans, remember to hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. Once you become a Fight for Iowa podcast subscriber, you'll automatically receive the latest episodes of the Fight for Iowa podcast, the Hawkeyes Voice podcast, Hawk Talk replays, exclusive game day content, and more. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Hawkeye Sports Network.